All right, what's going on, guys? Boy TG, welcome back to another video. So in this video, we're going to be predicting who will win the Stanley Cup. The 2023 Stanley Cup Playoffs is Monday. Now, you guys see here, I made a bracket right here. I know NHL had the link, the bracket challenge link, which I did do that last year, but this year, for some reason, I don't know, the link is not working for me. Every time I kept on going to the link, it kept on going slow. And then I refreshed and it didn't work. So I don't know what's up with the link. So I did not use it. So therefore, I made my own bracket, still with the 16 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. Now, first up, you're going to get Colorado Avalanche, the defending Stanley Cup champions, who got it done against the Lightning, who were the defending Stanley Cup champions last year in 6 games, against the newly Seattle Kraken. So Avalanche and Kraken in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Season series, the Kraken took 2 out of those 3 games in the season series. They took 2 out of 3 of those games in season series. The Avalanche leading goal scorers, Mikko Rantanen with 55 goals. I think that's a new career high for Mikko Rantanen. And Nathan MacKinnon, the leading point scorer with 111 points. So he's just been unreal. Kraken goal scorer Jared McCann with 40 goals. And the point scorer is Jared McCann with 70 points of the year. So the Kraken are in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in this franchise history. Vegas made the playoffs for the first time in their franchise history in their first year. Kraken in their second year. So I'm going to take the Avalanche in a clean sweep against the Seattle Kraken right there because, like I said, the Kraken are a new team. They're still, even though that they took 2 out of those 3 games in the season series, they're still new. I feel like it's going to be a clean sweep between the Avalanche and the Kraken. So, therefore, I take the Colorado Avalanche to beat the Kraken in 4. Up next, we got Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild. So, season series, both of these teams won 2 games apiece. Jason Robinson just had a heck of a year with 46 goals. He's the leading goal scorer for the Dallas Stars and also the leading point scorer with 109 points for the Dallas Stars. So, Jason Robinson has been a tremendous player to watch this year. Wild side, Kirill Kaprizov with 40 goals, leading goal scorer for them, and also with 75 points, leading point scorer. We didn't know if we'll see Kirill Kaprizov back or not, mostly because I think he had problems in Russia. I don't know. But he's back. He should be back in the playoffs. So I see this series going to 7 games, with the Wild winning it in 7 games. Now, Phil Gustin has just been terrific in goal for the Minnesota Wild, and they got a veteran in that, Marc-Andre Fleury, right there. So, Stars on the other hand, they got Jason Robinson, they got Jake Oettinger, all that on the Dallas Stars, but I see the Minnesota Wild taking this series in 7 games, and they go on to face the Colorado Avalanche in the second round of Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's for that series. Golden Knights and Jets. These 2 teams met in the playoffs before in 2018 in the Western Conference Finals, with the Golden Knights winning that series in 5. In the season series, the Golden Knights won all 3 of their games. Their leading goal scorer is Jonathan Marchessault with 28 goals of the year. Leading point scorer is Jack Eichel with 66 points of the year. And this will be the first time that we see Jack Eichel in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because he was on the Buffalo Sabres, and of course the Buffalo Sabres missed out on the playoffs. He was on there because they have their long playoff drought, but we're not going to talk about Buffalo that much, even though, and especially since they're not in the playoffs. Jets, on the other hand, they got Mark Scheifele, their leading goal scorer. He had 42 goals of the year. The leading point scorer is Kyle Connor. This was a tough one for me because I know Vegas has a problem with the goaltending. That's the one thing I see. But I feel like Vegas will take this series against the Winnipeg Jets in 5, depending on how their goaltending goes. They got Jonathan Quick from the LA King, well, from the Blue Jackets, because Jonathan Quick was traded to the Blue Jackets. Then the Blue Jackets shipped him to the Vegas Golden Knights. So they flipped them right there. But I see the Golden Knights taking this series in 5, just like they did in 2018 when these two teams met. Anyway, Edmonton Oilers, LA Kings going at it in the playoffs. Once again, these two teams met last year in the playoffs, with the Oilers winning that series in 7. I see another 7-game series from these teams. But first off, can we just talk about the season that Connor McDavid had, scoring 64 goals, scoring 153 points. So he has had a heck of a season, to say the least. So I just want to give a shout out to Connor McDavid on the. That's one of his best seasons yet, scoring 64 goals right there. Join other NHL legends to score 60 goals in seasons. Stammer did it in 2012. Austin Matthews did it last year. Ovi did it, but I don't know when, because he has had a lot of 50, 60-goal seasons, mostly 50-goal seasons. I think he only had like 2 60-goal seasons. I don't know, but I know he's mainly had 50-goal seasons. So Ovi did it, and Connor McDavid to be on that list, that's just amazing to see. So he's the leading goal scorer, leader in assists, and leading point scorer for the Edmonton Oilers. Kings on the other side, Adrian Kempe scoring 41 goals a year. This is the first time I ever seen LA Kings player score 40-plus goals a year. I don't think I've never seen that before in all my years watching hockey. I don't think I've never seen a Kings player score 40-plus goals a year. But the leading point scorer is Anze Kopitar with 74 points. But without further ado, I take the LA Kings. I mean, not the LA Kings, the Edmonton Oilers to win this series in 7 games. Right there. So that's for the West side. For the East side, Hurricanes against the Islanders. 2019 second round playoff rematch. Now, Carolina has Andrei Svechnikov out of the playoffs. And the Islanders did surprise me this year. But I feel like Carolina is still going to get it done against the New York Islanders. They're going to take that series win in 6 games, despite Andrei Svechnikov being out for them. I see them taking it in 6 games. Devils and Rangers right here. Now, this is going to be the one I'm going to be tuned in for the most, because this is a rivalry, guys. Devils and Rangers. We're talking Devils and Rangers. These two teams hate each other. They don't like each other. They want to destroy each other. This is my favorite rivalry of the NHL, besides the Bruins and Habs, Blackhawks Blues, Blackhawks Red Wings. This is one of my favorite rivalries right here. And this will be the first time that the Devils and Rangers will be in the playoffs since the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, which we all know how that went. Adam Henrique with the OT goal on Henrik Lundqvist in Game 6 to send the Devils off to the 2012 Stanley Cup Final, even though that they would lose to the LA Kings in 6 games right there. So, but the Devils ain't going to win this series just like they did in 2012. I see the New York Rangers taking this series in 7 games right here. And plus, the Rangers, they added 2 key players at the trade deadline. Getting Patrick Kane from the Chicago Blackhawks and getting Vladimir Tarasenko from the St. Louis Blues. But that Kane trade from the Blackhawks did hurt me a little bit because he was my childhood hockey player growing up. And to see him get traded, that's just sad to see. And Jonathan Taves already leaving, but the Kane one hurt me the most because, like I said, he was my childhood hockey player growing up, and he got traded away to the New York Rangers. But he needs another cup. He's won 3 Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. He needs another cup. He needs his 4th straight not straight. He needs his 4th Stanley Cup. Vladimir Tarasenko, already a Stanley Cup champion with the St. Louis Blues in 2019. He needs another cup. So I'm saying the Rangers in 7. And you guys kind of already knew that because some of you knew that I predicted that the Rangers would win the Stanley Cup this year, which I kind of just gave away my Stanley Cup winner right there. But some of you already knew anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, Bruins, Panthers. Bruins, I just got to say the Bruins had a stellar year, winning 65 games, being good at home. And David Pastrnak scoring 61 goals. I think that's a new career high for David Pastrnak, scoring 61 goals of the year and having 113 points. The Bruins had all in all a good year. And Matthew Tkachuk, the leading point scorer for the Panthers with 109 points. But even though that the Panthers are a good team and they won the President's Trophy last year, going up against this year's President's Trophy winners, I'm going to take the Boston Bruins to win this series in 5. I was going to say a clean sweep right there, but I feel like the Panthers will win 1 or 2 of these games, but I just see this series being a 5-game series with the Bruins winning in 5. Anyway, you got Tampa Bay, you got Toronto. These two teams met in the playoffs last year with the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, winning that series. And this is a no-brainer right here. I'm taking Tampa Bay. Some of you guys say that this is the least year. It's never the least year because they're always going to keep on losing in the first round. So I take the Lightning in 7 right there. Now, second round, Colorado Avalanche, Minnesota Wild. This is a tough one. I do see Colorado. Let's see. This is a tough one, guys. This is a tough one. This is the defending champs against the Minnesota Wild. I am going to say that the Colorado Avalanche win this series I see this going to a 6 or 7 game series, but I see the Avalanche winning in 6 against the Minnesota Wild right there. So they go back to the Western Conference Final. Golden Knights and Oilers meeting in the playoffs for the first time. Let's see. Connor McDavid and the Oilers. Even though that the Golden Knights finished first in the division, I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers just because that Connor McDavid has had a heck of a year with the Oilers, and the Oilers are doing great. But I'm taking this series. I'm guessing that the Oilers will probably get a sweep in this series. You could see a sweep right there. But I have the Avalanche win the series against the Wild in 6 games, though. And so the Avalanche and Oilers face each other in the conference finals once again. Hurricanes and Rangers, 2022 second round rematch. These two teams meet in the second round again. You guys know I got to take the Rangers. Carolina will put on a show for sure, just like they did last year. But I got to take the Rangers to win this series against the Carolina Hurricanes. This will be going to a 7-game series, by the way, in my opinion. Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, 2 stacked teams right there. These 2 teams met in the playoffs before. I think the Bruins won against the Lightning before in the playoffs, and I think the Lightning won against the Bruins before in the playoffs. But I'm taking Boston Bruins to win this series in 7. These are 2 stellar teams right here. This is going to go to a 7-game series for sure. So Bruins in 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Avalanche Oilers 2022 Western Conference Final rematch. McDavid versus McKinnon. But I'm going to, let's see. I did predict that the Avalanche will go back to the Stanley Cup Final before the start of the season. I think the Avalanche will probably go back, but based on the season that the Oilers are having and what McDavid's having, I'm going to take the Edmonton Oilers to win that series against the Colorado Avalanche right there. I did say Avalanche will go back to the Stanley Cup Final, but Oilers kind of surprised me this year, especially Connor McDavid right there. So I'm going to say Oilers in, say, maybe we'll see a 7-game series between these 2 teams. But I'm going to say Oilers in 6. Oilers in 6 against the Avalanche. Rangers, Bruins, 2 original 6 teams right here going at it in the Eastern Conference Final. Bruins, I don't know if they're going to break the President's Trophy curse because not a President's Trophy team has won the Stanley Cup. And the last team to win the President's Trophy and to win the Stanley Cup was, of course, my Chicago Blackhawks in 2013 when they beat the Boston Bruins in 6 games, which I do see the series going to 6 games as well. Maybe 7 games because these two teams are stacked. So I'm going to say Rangers in 7. Rangers get it done in 7. Against the Boston Bruins in the Eastern Conference Final. Oilers, Rangers, Stanley Cup Final 2023. I thought about it being Avalanche and Rangers in the 2023 Stanley Cup Final, but I'm just going to say Oilers, Rangers go at it in the Stanley Cup Final. The two teams that did not be in the Stanley Cup Final last year are in the Stanley Cup Final this year. And you guys know I got to take the Rangers. I got to take the Rangers. They are so stacked. When I did my New York Rangers franchise mode series, I felt like the sim kind of I feel like I got rigged by the sim. We didn't win as much Stanley Cups as we did in that Rangers franchise mode series. We only won 3 Stanley Cups. But the sim basically was rigged for me. And some of you guys might be saying right now, Rangers are not going to win the Stanley Cup. You may be right. But they're a stacked team. Kaner needs another cup. He needs his 4th Stanley Cup. Tarasenko needs his 2nd because he only won 1 with the Blues. 2 key players that they added at the deadline. Plus, I would love to see Artemi Panarin, Adam Fox, and the rest of the Rangers players hoist the Stanley Cup for the first time in their NHL career. So I'm predicting that the Rangers will win the Stanley Cup. So here's all my predictions, guys. Rangers will get it done in, let's see, maybe 6 games, kind of like how the Avalanche got it done against the Lightning last year in 6 games. I see a 6-game series between the Oilers and Rangers. If I was predicting that the Avalanche would go to the Stanley Cup Final like I did before, I don't know why I stuck with Edmonton. Well, because Connor McDavid and Oilers had a good year. But if I predict that the Avalanche will beat the Oilers again, I would say a 7-game series. But this is Oilers and Rangers. I see a 6-game series between these two teams. So here's my playoff bracket, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Remember, this is predictions. This may not be the real deal, but this is my predictions. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like, hit it with a subscribe button. I can't wait for Monday because that is the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Devils and Rangers, I'm going to be tuning in for that series the most because of the rivalry between the Devils and the Rangers. And I'll see you guys next time.